I'm visiting Mongolia this year to continue my research in the reindeer herding area of Hufsgal IMAC. So what I actually do is look at outdoor worship sites in the reindeer herding area, because these worship sites allow me to go into the old pastures and old homelands of this group, as well as to examine how they lived and what they value in their life and in their culture. So in particular, I look at ongons and ovos. Ovos everyone sees. These are the rock stacks that may be roadside rock stacks that everyone can add to, or might be once a year used by a particular community in their worship. But the ongons are more important and more central to Mongolians because, especially in the reindeer herding area, they are the places where they ritually bury their shaman. And so with this burial, there's all kinds of things that are particular to the group and how they're trying to honor that individual that are the material culture at that site. But it also has stories about the person as well as what's happened in that area that make it significant to them. So I've been working with ACMS almost since it formed. I first came to Mongolia in 2002, and I think it formed in about 2003, or something about that time. So I knew it from its earliest onset, and our projects have been supported. Fellows have been supported through ACMS, and always it's been a home where we can go to get support for research, as well as in the past, really essential infrastructure. If you would imagine in the early days, even having access to an internet was so hard, and ACMS could provide that to researchers so they could do their work better. I would tell anyone who's interested in studying in Mongolia, especially if they're interested in studying culture, that it takes more than one visit to understand what's going on. It actually takes 2, 3, 4, and a lot of thinking between those to understand what you've seen and what it actually means. Sometimes people tell you things and you simply don't know how to understand it. And until you understand more about Mongolians, you're not going to understand it. So in my case, they used to tell me that the shamans were buried in trees, and I had no idea what this meant. I didn't know if I was going to find a skeleton in a tree. I didn't know what that was going to look like. And just by hanging in there and continuing and looking and seeing, now I know that they mean that all of the spirit items of that shaman are going to be decorating that tree and gaining a life force and significance from it. And that act of putting the drum, the coat, the headgear, any kind of spirit amulets into the trees is honoring these people and trying to make them to be content in their new life in the other world. So until I could go through many cycles and have the same conversation with many people over and over again, I wasn't prepared to understand what was happening. One of the things that I would say also about working in Mongolia is get to know Mongolians. Too many times people come and they're embedded in a whole group of Americans or Canadians or Europeans, and they don't have that one-on-one experience of getting to know Mongolians. So I think it's really important to spend some time trying to make friends and understanding the community. So my own research is now embedded in families and children and their animals and their horses and common concerns we have as a group that works together repeatedly. But without understanding Mongolians as individuals, I wouldn't be able to say that. I got involved with Mongolia because a sponsor from the Smithsonian Institution, Ed Neff, had come to Mongolia and brought Bill Fitzhugh with him. And Bill then got a group together in 2002 to come to Mongolia and see what he had seen. Because I worked on plants, especially lichens from the northern areas, this was a natural for me because I'd already seen these same lichens in Canada and in Northern Europe. But when I came, what I understood was that the plants weren't endangered, the culture was endangered, and that we really had to work with Mongolians to have them say what they needed to say and to be heard and to be recorded through photographs, through written pieces, and then through video, so that they and their stories would live on, even if their way of life was changing rapidly. It's always interesting to find out who wants to come to Mongolia and study. Sometimes it used to be people who were looking for something off the beaten path. But now I think that people are coming here to study main research questions, where Mongolia is just one place where you could ask that question, whether it's economics, how infrastructure develops, how the city should be structured, or how herding lifestyle can continue, or what happened in archaeology in the past. All of those things now have broader themes than just Mongolia. Mongolia is just a good place to do research.